Imagine this beauty running at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour to hunt its prey. Isn't it a sight to behold? Just have a look at it. Cheetah is what we call them. This spotted animal is the fastest animal on the earth, having its habitat mostly in African savanna. The way this animal runs, the way it leaps, the way it puts its legs forward, the way it is able to leap forward, it is sight to behold. A majority of the 7,000 cheetahs lives in South Africa, Namibia and Botswana. Namibia has the world's largest population of cheetah. What concerns us in this case is who are cheetahs? Why exactly is it that there is so much amount of murmur around its restoration? Where the cheetah went in India? Is it that they were existing in India? What exactly is the meaning of reintroduction? Has it been that they have been introduced before also? How they can be conserved? What are the benefits of it? And what are the challenges accruing out of it? The name cheetah comes from Sanskrit, which means the spotted one. There are two subspecies of cheetah. One is what is called as Asiatic, that is Achinomyx juvetus venaticus, and the African Achinomyx juvetus juvetus. However, it is still debatable if there is a biological basis for this differentiation, as cheetah across continents have seemed to be generally comparable. The fastest animal on the earth, which became extinct in India 7 decades ago, will be reintroduced in the country in the jungles of Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh, inaugurating perhaps the world's first inter-continental cheetah translocation project. Initially, by September 16, 2022, 8 cheetahs will arrive from Namibia. 8 to 12 cheetahs will, including 4 or 5 females, have been vaccinated and quarantined for a month in Namibia as part of the preparations of airlifting them to India. 8 of them will be brought in the first lot. Once at Kuno, they will be kept in a 500-hectare enclosure for 2-3 months before being freed into the wild. There is a team of South Africa and the South African Wildlife Organization, plus the Wildlife Institute of India, which will be working on the translocation of cheetah from South Africa till December 2022. In India, the earliest available record for cheetah hunting is found in the 12th century Sanskrit text Manasulasa, produced by the Kalyani Chalukya ruler Someshwar II. The animal became extinct in India in 1952 due to extensive hunting. The cheetah is the only large carnivore to have gone extinct in India, primarily due to hunting and habitat loss. Maharaja Ramanuj Pratap Singh Dev of Korea, Madhya Pradesh, has widely been believed to have killed at least the 3 last recorded cheetah in India in 1947. In 1952, the Indian government officially declared the cheetah to be extinct in the country. For centuries, hunting was a favored activity of the so-called royalty in India. The cheetah, which was relatively easy to tame and less dangerous than tigers, was frequently used by Indian nobility for sport hunting. Cheetah coursing was the main purpose for which cheetah were used. Coursing basically means, in your language, it is coaching. Coaching of the cheetah or training of the cheetah for the purpose of hunting. And it has become a specialized activity in the medieval period and was carried on a large scale during the Mughal rule. Akbar, who enslaved India from 1556 to 1605, was particularly fond of the activity and is recorded to have collected 9,000 cheetah in total. Abul Fazl, Akbar's chief courtier, noted that the emperor has devised a new method to capture cheetahs. In earlier times, people would dig deep pits for the animal to fall into it. However, they would at times break their legs in the process. Akbar is said to have solved the problem by digging shallow pits with an automatic trapdoor which would close after they fell inside. The cheetah were then trained so that they could participate in royal hunts, and the process took 3 to 4 months. Another Muslim, Jahangir, caught more than 400 antelopes by cheetah coursing in the Pargana of Palam. That is the site where New Delhi's international airport exists. The demand for cheetah for hunting purpose was so high that specific areas which had a high population were designated for their capture, such as Rajasthan's Jodhpur and Junjunu, Punjab's Bhatinda, and Haryana's Hisar. The capture of wild cheetahs for hunting and the difficulty to breed them in captivity was leading to a decline in the cheetah population even before the entry of the British. British were the ones which were able to accelerate the process of its near extinction. Unlike the Mughals, the British were not very interested in coursing with the cheetahs. Rather, they preferred to hunt big games such as tigers, bison, and elephants. Under the British Raj, forests were extensively cleared so as to develop settlements and to set up indigo, tea, and coffee plantations. This resulted in the loss of habitat for the big cats, contributing to their decline. While tigers were the preferred choice as animals for the British shikar, the Indian and British sport hunters also targeted cheetahs. The British officials considered cheetah as a vermin. That means the British considered that they were the ones who were responsible for killing a cattle, human being, or any other animal on which they used to prey. And consequently, they distributed monetary rewards for the killing of the cheetah from at least 1971 onwards. In Sindh, the reward for killing of cheetah cub was ₹6 and it was 12 for an adult. The administrative policy of the British played a major role in the extermination of the cheetah in India. The rewards for bounty hunting likely caused the decline of the cheetah, as even the removal of a small number would have negatively affected the ability of wild cheetahs to reproduce even at the lowest level required for survival. As a result, wild cheetahs became very rare in India by the 20th century. Unlike the British, Indian elites and rulers of princely states continued the old practice of hunting with the cheetahs in the 1920s. The leading figures among them were Maharaja of Kolhapur and Maharaja of Bhavnagar. However, by this time, it had become increasingly difficult to find cheetahs in the wild. The last spotted feline died in 1914 in the Sal forest of Chhattisgarh, Korea district. It was therefore that it necessitated the need for reintroduction. Reintroduction refers to the attempt to re-establish a wild population of a species in a location where it used to occur. It is a form of conservation translocation. That means conservation through translocation. That means conservation through locating it in a different place. which also includes reinforcement of the existing populations or attempts to establish a species outside its indigenous range for conservation purposes. Reintroductions have been conducted for more than 100 years, but their scope and frequency have greatly increased in recent times. The State Wildlife Board of Andhra Pradesh was the first to suggest the policy in 1955 on an experimental basis in 2 districts of Andhra Pradesh. In the 1970s, the Department of Environment formally requested Iran, which had 300 Asiatic cheetahs at that point of time, for some cheetahs. The Shah of Iran was disposed before any deal could be reached, and the Iranians, like most of the Muslim countries, couldn't have seen India benefiting out of it. Though the Cheetah Reintroduction project in India was conceived in 2009, it had to wait for Supreme Court's clearance to the National Tiger Conservation Authority plea. Attempts were being made in India and were revived once in 2009, but it was left to Supreme Court to clear the National Tiger Conservation Authority's plea. Attempts to bring to India all of these cheetahs were revived even more in 2009 when the Ministry of Environment and Forest, headed then by Jairam Ramesh, and the Wildlife Trust of India conducted a meeting to discuss the feasibility of a cheetah reintroduction. In January 2020, the Apex Court, that means the Supreme Court, gave its nod for reintroduction of the extinct species in India. 9 months later, KNP, that is Kuno National Park, was selected as the most ideal site out of 6 shortlisted sites. Several sites were chosen, of which Kuno National Park was seen as most suitable. This was because the area had a large habitat and it had significant investment that has already been made in the displacement of the villagers which were inhabiting the site. It does not mean that cheetah introduction was not done before. Cheetah reintroduction had taken place before as well. The purchases of cheetahs from Africa took place in the 20th century. The princely states of Bhavnagar and Kolhapur were the leading importers of cheetah between 1918 and 1939. Just before the World War I, Maharaja Bhav Singh II, who ruled Bhavnagar, the state from 1896 to 1909, sent his superintendent of police to Kenya to buy a cheetah and also many cheetahs as well. By the 1930s, the Bhavnagar estate is said to have owned 32 imported cheetahs. Cheetahs continued to be imported to independent India in small numbers, especially for exhibitions in zoos. Between 1949 and 89, around 7 zoos owned 25 cheetahs, all of which originally came from foreign countries. Almost all would have most likely been obtained from Africa. Reintroduction of cheetah is not new to India at all. One example is the Bilaspur rebuilding project in 2018. The project brought back over 150 of the endangered Indian antelope, apart from several other species of fauna and flora in and around the Jodhpur area. Similarly, in February 2011, an African-based safari company was at the forefront of the translocation of 19 gaur, that is Indian bison, at Bandhavnagar National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Over a decade, the gaur herd numbered more than 70. Dinosaurs have been introduced in the country with both positive and sad results. A few years ago, rhinos from Kaziranga National Park were moved to Manas National Park in the state. Some of the females even gave birth twice, adding to the total number of animals. However, in a setback, 10 rhinos were killed by the poachers. Similarly, the Indian government had launched a tiger relocation project. A male from Kanha Tiger Reserve and a female from Bandhavgarh from Madhya Pradesh were relocated to Satkosia Tiger Reserve in Odisha. While the male tiger Mahabir was found dead within months, the tigress Sundari became a predator, mauling many villages and crushing any hope of rebuilding a tiger population in the forest. Reintroduction efforts have taken place elsewhere in the world as well, and of course it is not alien to India too. There have been numerous successful reintroduction projects across the whole of the globe. This included golden lion tamarins in Brazil were thought to be extinct until the 1970s when 200 were covered in the Atlantic coastal forest of Brazil. Due to a successful conservation effort, the monkey has now been introduced to 17 forest fragments and 1200 or more now live in the wild. Similarly, due to excessive hunting and slaughter, the American bison population came down to as few as 750 animals in 1890s. Through conservation initiatives, reintroduction and population management has rebounded to around 350,000 of them. Similarly, the reintroduction of grey wolves at Yellowstone National Park over 21 years ago has helped successfully reverse the degraded ecosystem at the American National Park. Cheetah reintroduction needs no reason at all. But then there were two reasons for the project. One is that what cheetah can go on to do for India in those reserves in the drier parts of the country, and how they can drive the conservation of other endangered species and how they can protect the bushlands of savanna in that area. The reasons are cheetahs are highly adapted. If introduced, Kuno will become the only wildlife sanctuary in the world to host all four major cat subspecies like lion, tiger, cheetah, and the leopard. And it is the successful relocation of cheetah may become a ray of hope to other species which are on the verge of extinction. This will also be an attempt to make the people understand to conserve wildlife and their habitats too. But then there are many challenges. The challenges include the African cheetah will face the problem of coexistence. Coexistence means it has to live in this place with a good number of people. And why is it so? It has to live in this place along with all of the four cat family members, that is tigers, lions, and leopards. Hence the plan to introduce cheetah from Africa is poorly conceived as it ignores the fact that the spotted cat requires areas to sustain itself. Moreover, if the habitats are already densely populated by humans and livestock, there is a chance of their elimination due to conflict. Free roaming of cattle is the biggest challenge to the introduction of the endangered cats in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. It's supposed to be a protected park, but cattle are going in there. The walls that are supposed to keep the cattle out are broken. The real problem is that there are no real keystone species to drive the conservation of those areas. Keystone species are those species which are responsible for almost completely regulating the wildlife of that area. Genetic considerations feature major challenges that species being introduced in a new areas face. Reintroduced populations experience increased vulnerability to influences of drift, selection, and gene flow evolutionary process due to their small sizes and climatic and ecological differences between source and the native habitats. Meaning that there is a vulnerability to certain type of a gene flow that can take place in the process of the evolution. And because their size is going to be small, it is likely that climatic and ecological differences that will occur between time to time and that is going to be different from their source and also between the native source and the native habitats with the habitat where they have been reintroduced that may not go on to do well to them. Rewilding does not always bring desired results. Rewilding means restoring the animal to its original habitat, in its native habitat, making the conditions completely the same as it may have been. In Maharashtra, a rewilded tigress was released but was killed by the local tigress. If the rewilded cat had been released in an area with lots of prey and no resident tiger, it would have survived. But that can't be done, as the goal of rewilding is to augment the population. And so a tiger and tigress should be released only in a place where there are others only. Cheetahs are good for India. Good in the sense that they must go on to remain, they must run. They are a treat to watch. They are a treat to watch when they are making a prey run, and they are a treat to watch when they are innocent faced. That is one of the best things to happen, and particularly on the eve of Prime Minister's birthday in India.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.